Hi, welcome to Local Flavor. My name is Oystein Solberg, and we're here at the Institute for Culinary Arts with Chef Michael Combs.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for being here. We got yet another season going on today.
Yep, 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Somewhere far down the line. All right, so yeah, it's been a minute. So we got some fun stuff going on today. So in celebration of our new season, we're gonna make a beef Wellington.
Ooh, awesome.
It's delicious.
And there's different types of Wellingtons. I mean, I've seen salmon Wellingtons. I've seen people do all kinds of stuff.
Totally. So this is like, we went like super classic. So this is like old school, like British cooking. So it's like beef in puff pastry and just super extravagant. It's something that's fun to do, like if you have like a dinner party type thing. And
right, it's easy to prep, and then you can have it all ready to go. And then when your guests get in there, you can pop it in the oven, make it look all nice, and carve it.
And like it's a beautiful thing. So we're going to start. We got a center cut of beef tenderloin right here. You want to use a very beef tenderloin isn't super flavorful to begin with, so it's great for beef Wellington because you got so many other things kind of prop it up. We don't want to use the center cut, so you just get a nice uniform size. That way, it just ensures that it cooks evenly and all.
Yeah, it makes sense because if you have the tail or the other part that they use for Chateaubriand,
yeah,
it wouldn't get done, and it would be kind of have all that good stuff, and maybe even like leach into the puff pastry and be all bloody and everything, and you don't want that.
That'll just be weird. We don't want to do that. All right, so you're just going to start with season this puppy up fairly generously. Just going to use salt and pepper. Nothing crazy.
That looks good. The marbling looks pretty good on this guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent looking beef. But like compared to like a ribeye and stuff like that, like a tenderloin is rather uneventful. Like it's not a lot of like intramuscular fats. Like it's not super fun. So that's why like the Wellington just kind of makes it fun and kind of poppy.
It is interesting how it's changed because before everybody used to want to get fillets all the time.
Yeah.
But then people are starting to realize that ribeyes have more flavor. They're actually almost more expensive anymore.
Totally.
But these guys, they're tender and they're lean, so that's kind of the...
Yeah.
But not a lot of flavor, really.
Yeah, but the leanness is good for this kind of preparation because we're going to wrap the whole thing in dough. And like if you had a lot of fat, like that would render out, and that would sog up the puff pastry. So it would kind of make a little mess out of it. So you're just going to sear it like pretty well on each side. And then we're going to wrap it in some prosciutto, and we're going to make something that's called like a mushroom duxelle that's going to go on there.
Awesome.
It's going to be delicious.
And you can do other variations too, like if you wanted to put pâté, something foie gras,
totally,
stuff like that in there, you can do that as well.
Totally. And you can use different kind of mushrooms too. So kind of whatever you can pick. Like this one, we just use button mushrooms.
Okay.
So like if you wanted to, you can use portobello.
That's what this is here.
That's what. Yep. So we basically just took mushrooms, washed them off really well, then we put them in a food processor and kind of pulsed them up. So it kind of looks like ground mushrooms. It just kind of looks like a wet mushroom paste.
And they just kind of oxidize because after you ground them, they turn brown.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, like they're kind of funky looking fellas.
They are, and you have so much here, but most likely, I would think the reason why we have so much here is because this is going to cook down, isn't it?
Yes.
It's got so much water in it.
Tons of water. Like, because a mushroom is a sponge.
Right.
Like, so this just got...
Now look at all that.
But like all of that is like super flavor. So we're going to cook that down until it's just nice and dry, and it'll be like...
Okay.
It'll be awesome.
And so are you using any shallots or garlic or anything?
Yes. So usually add like some minced up shallots and there's a good old chunk of garlic. In there. Like traditionally like a duxelle, you can add like diced up ham to it, stuff like that.
Would you like me to cut this for you?
Oh, please, if you could.
Okay.
You're so much better at cutting than I am.
Figured out you can do something for you. I'm hanging out here watching you.
We're never doing anything together anymore. It's really good. But yeah, you can add like diced up ham and stuff like that. But like I like adding prosciutto and then wrap that around the beef. That's gonna help retain some of the moisture in there. It makes it a little bit easier for the puff pastry to kind of like not sog out. And
Got it. So it like creates a barrier.
Exactly.
Got it.
So it's kind of like when you put walls, you gotta have like that vapor barrier in there and all that stuff.
That's smart.
Kind of like the same thing.
And it's tasty. Prosciutto's tasty.
Totally. Yes. Yeah, you can use a regular ham. You can use prosciutto if you want to. Like you can kind of do all sorts of stuff. We got a lot of options on this stuff. But yeah, it's kind of the history of it. Like it's kind of like a little bit unknown. Like we know it as British,
Sure. Yeah, because I remember it was supposed to be linked to the Duke of Wellington, but I also read that it has nothing to do with him.
Yeah. So we got to call the guy and kind of see what's up. Yeah. I don't know. But like the French have been doing similar things, like any kind of like buff on crude, and really anything on crude just means in dough.
In dough, right? Like so even like, brie on crude, like anything. You can do anything.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Now we should do an episode on brie on crude too.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? It's actually pretty delicious. You can do all kinds of little things in there, couldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Different jams and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can do this with salmon, and it's really good. But yeah, anything as long as it's kind of like nice and uniform, so it cooks evenly.
Got it.
It works out great.
It's almost like that in a lot of cooking. Really, you always want things uniform because if you're going to cook them all together, you always want them done like at the same time. Because if you're cooking carrots and they're all different sizes, they're going to have hard ones and ones that aren't done. And so
exactly,
you'll notice that with cooking that most things are always
that's why we spend so much time just on like precision cuts, because like it does really matter. Like it has a purpose. We promise.
Starting to look good over there, and it smells delicious.
Oh yeah,
we can cut that sucker right now, and
it's gonna be awesome. Like so a piece like this is gonna take a good old while to cook. So at this point, we're really just kind of searing it off to kind of create that Maillard reaction, and just kind of helps give it some more flavor and a little bit more texture to it. But like the cooking the meat through won't happen until it goes in the oven. So this is another part that's very, very important, that you kind of cook it. That you have a uniform piece, because it's going to be wrapped in dough. Like, so you just want to make sure, because like you can't, once it's in the oven, you can't really change much with it.
No, so it's also important to maybe sear it, because if we were to pop it in that oven and not sear it or anything like that, well, it'd probably sog out, would be one, but the other thing is it probably wouldn't be done by the time the puff pastry is nice and golden brown, right?
Exactly. All right, so we're going to add in our mushrooms. I'm going to add a good old bit. And this is going to cook down more than you think. So I always like making a little bit more than we need. But you can always use that and smear it on a piece of toast or whatever afterwards.
That's true.
Yeah, so the one thing that's kind of bad about cutting the mushrooms this way, like you won't get any coloration on the mushrooms. Like you won't get a good sear on it. But like you're really not using them for the sear. You're using them for kind of their moisture retention ability.
Right, for while we put it in that puff pastry.
Exactly. So we can dump in all our deliciousness. Boom.
Ooh.
So these puppies are kind of trucking along and doing their thing. You can see like it's just a lot of moisture seeping out. So basically we're going to cook this fairly low and slow. Like we're not going to go at crazy heat, because you want to dry them out as much as possible. Because if you start wrapping this on the beef with too much moisture, they're not gonna absorb it and the moisture coming out of the beef, and then it'll just be a soupy mess. So we just add a little bit of salt and pepper in there, and we're just gonna let it stew down.
Yep, let it cook away, huh? So when we're trying to like just reduce the amount of moisture in there.
Exactly.
That's basically what we're doing, cooking it down and.
Yep, but this is basically a wonderful like mushroom liqueur, liquid in there. So we're going to cook that down and super intensify those mushrooms.
Ooh, it sounds good. Beef and mushrooms, they go perfect together,
don't they? Oh yeah. So like you can you can use any kind of mushrooms. Like you can use morels. Like it wouldn't be.
That'd be delicious.
Oh yeah, it would be like super filthy. But it's really good to do with pork too. Like you just want to be.
Good idea.
You just got to change the temperature of the oven and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like the beef, you can roast it fairly high, but you don't want the puff pastry to overcook by the time the beef is done,
right?
Or vice versa.
So you're thinking about the size also of the pork tenderloin, if you use a pork tenderloin or loin or something like that, and so they're all, the composition's different.
Yep.
Temperature, finishing is different.
Totally.
Pork you could even do about medium or so anymore.
Yep. Oh yeah. Most people
medium rare even.
Most people don't know that, but it's worth it. All right, so we're gonna let this stew down. We should go have a cup of coffee and eat the kind of end pieces of this beef or something. I don't know.
It looks good.
We'll find some scrubs. So you guys stay tuned and we'll be right back.
See you.
All right, and we're back here again, and we're going to try and finish up our little Wellington hoopla. So we got our seared off beef, we got our mushrooms that are nice and dry and awesome. And then we got our sliced up prosciutto.
Yes.
So I just kind of cut this prosciutto so it's about the same width as the beef, so it makes it just super easy to kind of roll on there.
Right. So you basically have this on like a piece of parchment, you laid them out, and then you can cut them out kind of to make it look all nice.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that?
It just makes, but then you can use the parchment to kind of roll it onto, kind of like making like a sushi roll.
Ah, good idea.
Makes it super, super easy. So we're gonna start out with our little mushroom spread, and you don't want to pack it on super thick, but about 1/4 inch or a little bit thicker is okay too.
It smells really good.
Oh yeah, it smells like super, super rich, and just it's like an umami fest going on this thing. And so you can just kind of pat it on there. So using the prosciutto and the parchment as well makes it a lot easier, making the mushroom kind of stick onto the beef. Because it kind of like this little prosciutto-y sushi roll.
And it sticks pretty well. I mean, it's a nice consistency. So we basically cooked it until it was about as dry as we can get it, really.
Yeah.
Let it cool down.
Yep.
And here we are.
Yeah, because you want to be sure that everything is nice and cold. So even the beef, after we seared it off, like we chilled it all the way down. Because if not, like that's going to start steaming once you wrap it up, and that's going to start melting the butter in the puff pastry. And then you start getting into a little trouble. You want to try and avoid that.
No sogginess.
You don't want soggy bottoms. Nobody wants that. All right, so we're going to take our beef and just lay it. So basically I got it set up so I got a little flap of just kind of clean prosciutto on that side. Then you just put the beef starting on top of the mushrooms. So basically just going to use that parchment to start rolling it onto. So then I just started folding the parchment back and just kind of finish rolling it on.
Well, you can see, and maybe from that angle there, you can see how the mushroom is all wrapped up in there.
Right, so it covers the entire thing. So I like going back on here.
Tighten it up a little.
Yeah. So at this point, you can have it made ahead of time like this as well. If this goes in the fridge like this, like it'll tighten up and get super, super nice. There. So then we're just gonna transfer this. So just use the parchment. That makes it super easy to kind of move around. I'm gonna roll this onto our puff pastry.
There you go.
Right? Super, super easy. And I got the puff pastry. This is just like store-bought puff pastry, but it's like it really works good for this kind of preparation. So you want to kind of pinch in the ends.
And this is not the one with the squares in it. You can get puff pastries that have squares. These are the sheets.
Yep. So basically take the ends, kind of tuck it in a little bit, just to kind of get the puff pastry just pretty nice and snug.
It's looking good.
Oh, it's going to be delicious. Then we take the puff pastry.
I'm going to wrap that up.
And roll it on there. Then you want to make sure you don't start rolling the parchment into the whole Wellington, because then
you don't want to eat that.
Mess. Then you just roll it super nice and tight.
So you're doing the same thing.
Yep.
That you did with the prosciutto.
Yep. And it's like all magic. And I just gotta get that one
It's trying to fold off.
It's being fidgety on us, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's thawed out.
Yeah. Right there. All right? So it goes all the way around. So basically the ends, you can stretch puff pastry a little bit. So push it down and then close it up like that. Now just get it pretty nice and snug. But that's going to cook pretty fast anyways, so it'll be all right. I'll do the same on this side. Just kind of stretch it to kind of pinch it together. Because the puff pastry will kind of like stick onto itself pretty well.
Yeah, it is pretty sticky. Especially if you let it kind of thaw out a little bit. It's pretty sticky. Otherwise, if you're working with it right out of the refrigerator or freezer, it might be a little too much for you. You might have to wait.
Yeah. And so that'll help hold it together as it bakes. So I'm just kind of pulling the dough onto, and that'll just kind of help seal it up.
Yeah, look at that.
Real nicely.
Looking good.
Yeah. And so that can be our top side right there.
So this is your presentation side.
Yep. And you can do these kind of like however long you want to. You just got to kind of be kind of careful on kind of like the cook time. But that's about it.
Or even if you do multiple, if you want them, you can always cut them down and just do multiple.
Totally.
Right? Instead of doing one big one or whatever you're going to do.
So like up to this stage, you can have them done sitting in the fridge.
True.
Like, so make them the day ahead. That way everything is super nice and chilled. And then when you need them, throw them in the oven.
Can't beat
rock
that.
and roll, pull them out, and it's dinner party.
So basically, it's the preparation on the front side is probably the pain, to be honest. But if you get these made, but you can do them ahead of time, and so when if you're doing these for a party or something, when people come in, you can just pop these in the oven and
totally
cook them off. So
just gonna transfer it over to our little cookie sheet. That's a good old log of meat.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a little egg wash. That's gonna help the puff pastry just kind of get nice and golden and crispy and delicious.
Yes, so it gives it that nice little sheen too.
Yeah. Little bit of.
Yep, you can put little designs in there and all that good stuff that if you like to.
So like there was a little bit of trimming from the puff pastry, so you can cut that into flowers or spell your name on there. Or,
that's a good idea.
I don't know, make like a little puff pastry cow on there. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And you just brush all over. So the brushing you want to do like right before it goes in the oven. If not, it's just going to dry out and kind of gets funky.
Yep. So you're just doing a really light coat.
Yep. Because you don't want it to be like scrambled eggs on there.
Right.
Like if it's too thick, then it just gets a very kind of wonkety. That is like steak and eggs for breakfast type thing. All right. Nice even little layer. I'm gonna sprinkle a little salt and pepper on top of it. Well, just gotta help season the puff pastry because like the puff pastry isn't super seasoned to begin with. Just a little bit of good old S&P on there. And what I like to do is just take a fork or a knife and just kind of run it very gently across. Not really cutting into, but just kind of like making these little drag marks on the puff pastry.
Ah, so it's going to give it when it starts. So when it cooks, it's going to have little like cross hatches on there.
Exactly. So it kind of looks like a grilled piece of meat. Awesome. There. Like so, you can like write your name in there. Like you want to be careful not to like punch through the dough.
Sure.
But just like this wonderful little, happy little wrapped up hoopla. So when cooking this thing, that's kind of the most critical part. If you have an oven thermometer, use that because you want to cook it until it reaches about 120.
Got it. Because carryover cooking.
Exactly. And since it's wrapped up too, even when you pull it out, like it's going to carry further than you were just roasting like a regular loin.
So maybe like 10 degrees or maybe even 10 to 15 degrees over.
Yeah.
Because I guess it is a pouch. It's going to have steam in it and all that good stuff. And so.
Yeah. So I usually take it to about like 118, 120.
Okay.
And that usually carried to like the upper 120s.
Okay.
Like ballpark. And that usually works out pretty good. It's going to depend on your piece too. Like if you got a little bit smaller piece, it'll carry a little bit less and stuff like that. So it's a lot of variables. But just use the thermometer. When you do, just always check it from the same hole. So just use like a digital thermometer or use your oven thermometer.
Idea. So you don't poke holes all over the whole thing.
Exactly. Because like the more, if you poke hole, it makes it look like a porcupine. Like that gives it more ways for like steam and stuff to get out. You kind of want to try and trap it in there.
Okay, you want to keep all the flavors, aromas, all those things in there.
Exactly. Like so, if you just use an oven thermometer, pop it in from the get-go, make sure you're sitting like in the center of the loin, and just let it roll. So we got to set it like 375 at convection. So convection basically means that you had a fan that circulates the air, makes it cook very nice and evenly. That's going to help our puff pastry roast up really well. If the puff pastry starts cooking faster than your loin, so if you see your loin is only at like 60 degrees and your puff pastry is like done,
right,
you can always move to like a colder oven or turn down the temp or turn off the fan and stuff like that. You could do part like aluminum foil over as well to kind of cover it up a little bit.
To stop it from browning.
Yeah, but the puff pastry got some water content, so it's going to release some steam. So you don't want to close it in, but you can kind of cover the top.
It's going to be doughy, just be like a dough because of all the water and everything that's coming out of it.
Yeah, right. But the puff pastry is going to be crispy and delicious and awesome. And then it's going to be like steamy, meaty heaven in there. So it's like this wonderful texture hoopla. It's awesome. So if you do use aluminum foil, just leave the ends open. That way moisture steam can still escape and whatnot. So
that's good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we're gonna
throw that
in the oven.
Throw it in the middle, and you might have to like flip the pan around every now and then, kind of depending on your oven. If you don't have a convection oven, you could go a little bit higher heat. You could go up to like 400 if need be. Convection just makes it a little bit more efficient, but usually between like 350 to 400 is kind of like your sweet spot. But every oven is going to be a little bit different on it, so you just kind of keep a good eye on it. Like, you know your oven better than we do, so.
Probably, yeah, because most of the time you work in the same oven all the time, and they are different.
Yeah. What you could do as well, like if you don't have a convection oven, put a cast iron pan in the bottom and heat it up with the oven. So when you put it on there, because the hardest part is getting it crispy underneath. But if you have a heated up like cast iron pan, turned upside down, land it on there, kind of use it as a pizza stone.
Would a pizza stone work?
Yeah, it would totally fine. Right, because that's going to help the bottom start cooking faster.
Wow. So you get that nice little crust on the bottom.
Exactly.
Got it.
But this one, like, it's going to circulate enough air, so it'll work out just fine. Hopefully, it's always like I always get like a small heart attack putting them in because like it's always like that. Oh,
It is. I mean, really, it's a kind of it's a feat to figure out how to get the meat cooked perfectly in the inside, and then also get the outside brown.
Totally.
So you know what I mean. You're working with two different things here that cook at two different temperatures, and you got to get it done at the same time.
And like
that's the hard part.
This is kind of the food you cook for dinner for two, because like you have to do it in a bigger quantity. So whenever like you're gonna have, I don't know, 6 to 10 people coming over, so it's not like you can just say we're gonna have Wellington, and then you order pizza. Like they'll know something went wrong. So,
or just don't tell them. Maybe.
Yeah. Like it's an expensive cut of meat too, so like it's a good chunk of money in the oven. So that's why I'm kind of.
I think it's perfect for parties though, because
totally.
I mean, if you're having people over, I mean, you don't want to make a steak for everybody. Like, how do you want your steak? A medium well, medium rare, whatever. So, I mean, really cooking things in a larger amount like this right here, you can serve probably 6, 8 people, that sort of thing.
And it's a great showpiece.
Yep, and it's
like,
a great showpiece.
It looks awesome, and it's like so.
It has almost everything contained in it.
Yep.
I mean, really, you have like some starch in there. You also have the protein. You have some vegetable from the thing, and so if you had a really nice sauce to go with it, you can probably serve it like that. Yeah. We like to serve it with some root vegetables. I think we got some onions we're going to do with it, right?
Yep, we got some onions and kale. So normally you could serve it like a béarnaise sauce or something.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Really good. Oh,
really good. Béarnaise would be perfect.
But like I think it's so good on its own because like the mushrooms will capture all that steam and all that deliciousness. Like it's kind of like its own sauce and starch and everything.
It's all self-contained.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so we're gonna stand here and watch this one in awe and glory, and hopefully it'll turn out.
It will.
It's not without pizza, right?
Exactly.
Right, we'll make it happen. So you guys stay tuned, and we'll be right back, and we'll try and carve this thing up.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, then we're back here again. We got our Wellington out, and it looks delicioso.
And it smells delicioso.
It's awesome. So this one's been sitting resting for about 7-8 minutes by now. We got a little bit of veg that we're gonna like kind of finish up. So we get a little bit of veg to kind of go with it. So
springish, springish, summery.
Yeah, so we got like little tiny little baby onions in from the garden. So I just kind of roasted these with a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper. Just gonna saute those a little bit. If you want to take the kale off these down.
And so we have some this is just like a typical kale, nothing special about it.
Yeah.
Right. Just gonna take them off.
But like it's fairly young, so it's not super like once the kale gets into summer, like it'll get kind of like tough and kind of woody. This one's fairly young, so it's pretty nice and tender.
Yes, it is.
I'm just gonna throw it all into
just like a rough tear, kind of nothing special.
Oh yes. No, this is kind of like the complete opposite of the Wellington. Because like the Wellington is like elaborate, like it's a good chunk of work, and it's like this very impressive like showpiece. And then we got like torn kale, but I like it. So we're just gonna saute this a little bit. Gonna give it a little dash of water. Kale just needs like a little bit of steam. I'm just gonna help tender it up a little dash. And if you wouldn't mind chopping up that parsley.
So we're just gonna do a rough chop on the parsley.
Oh yes. A little bit of salt and pepper in there.
Nothing too crazy.
So if you wanted to, you can add a little bit of white wine to it as well. Kind of let it steam with that. Like it's
a good idea.
And it's all pretty tasty. And Bam.
There you go.
Good old pile of deliciousness. Basically, it's gonna let the water evaporate, and just kind of like glaze it off super nicely.
There you go.
Deliciousness. It's gonna be awesome.
Looks really good.
Yeah, it's gonna be delicioso.
I have a feeling we're gonna use this guy here in a minute.
Yeah. So like right at the end, once the water, because like I don't like to cook lemon too much. Like the less it cooks, the more kind of like natural it tastes.
Right.
So like right at the end, when the water is out, the vapor is out. They're just gonna give it a little squeeze, just kind of like kind of breaking it up.
Brighten it up a little bit.
All right, but I think our Dr. Wellington is ready for his surgery.
It's unveiling. Yeah, it looks delicious actually. So we got to be careful with them because, you know, we baked them off, and usually we look for. Sometimes you'll have some cracks in there, like you may have a little bit of a crack here or a crack there. But sometimes, as we even
it's holding up
probed
pretty,
them, held up pretty well, and there's no cracks in there or anything like that. So
awesome.
He's pretty good, really. I'm just gonna take the whole paper off, honestly, because he seems a little.
Yeah, but it's very tender. Because like you don't want it the crust to crack open, or because sometimes it can be soft underneath as well. This one I think is holding up pretty alright.
Yeah,
because then you can just slide it right off like that.
There you go.
And it's like,
look at
that. Magic.
Mmm.
It looks awesome. All right, should we try and slice this puppy up?
Sure. We're gonna see what he looks like inside.
All right, so this is kind of the big reveal. I'm always a little bit nervous for this.
I am too.
So you want to try not to cut it too thin, right? Because there's a lot of with the mushrooms in there and everything. If you cut it too thin, it's all gonna like fall apart. So a little bit thicker makes it a little bit easier to kind of hold together. And
I'm letting the knife do all the work. So I'm not smashing this guy or anything like that. And you can see I'm also using a serrated knife, so to be able to get right through there. So
yeah, because you want to use a bread knife. If you try and use like a chef knife or something like that, it gets very, very fidgety. Like a bread knife, which is kind of the last thing you really want to use.
Look at that beauty. Bam!
It looks absolutely gorgeous. So the end piece, we usually don't use it. So like that's why, right, because it's mostly crust. It's not that much meat. So that one we just set aside, and that's kind of like...
That's our snack.
That's what we nibble on, yeah.
But look at that.
It looks absolutely delicious.
Okay, and we'll get a few slices like that in there.
Like the bottom, got nice good crust on it. You're just gonna carefully kind of transport it over.
There you go.
And I like to kind of give it a little dibber dab before we move it over. That'll just kind of help it from like leaking out from the plate like too much. Oh, that looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yep, they look perfect. And these things are smoking hot too, they don't.
Oh yeah. But that's why it takes longer to rest a piece of meat like this than a regular roast, because it got just more of that carryover heat. So it takes a good while.
Look at that.
Right? That looks gorgeous.
Good finishing salt would be good too.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna take our lemon. Just gonna give it a little squeeze on the old veggeroni over here. Make sure I'm getting the seeds in there. A little bit of squeeze. Boom. And then you're just gonna toss that in.
So real quick.
And that's all we need in the world. All right?
Look at that.
All right?
Perfect.
And then we got food for 5 very hungry people. And like it
looks delicious.
It's big, it's elegant, it's just fun and delicious. Now I'm excited. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. This was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
It was great.
So be sure to stay tuned. Check out our website for our recipes. And yeah, we'll be back with more shenanigans. So thank you guys, and see you guys later.
See ya.